Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Irvine International Academy regular board meeting. Today is Tuesday, December 10th. The time is 6:05 p.m. I'd like to call this meeting to order. We'll start with roll call. Molly?
Present.
Felipe?
Present.
Brett is present. David? Not present. Miller? Not present. Okay. We are meeting at 1482 Carolina Lane, Irvine, California, 92604. It seems like there are no teleconference locations to report out. Next item is approval of the agenda for the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on today, December 10th. It's recommended the Board of Directors approve the agenda for the regular meeting of the IIA Board of Directors on December 10th. Is there a motion?
I motion to approve.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second? Thank you, Molly. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, it passes. Okay, moving on to the next item, 2, community input on closed session agenda items. Members of the public may comment on items listed on the closed session agenda only. We try to cap it to 3 minutes.
And we have none.
Okay. Next item is closed session for discussion and possible action, the Public Employee and Performance Evaluation Executive Director. Okay, thank you everyone for your patience. Sorry for the delay. We were in closed session doing our Public Employee Performance Evaluation. That was our mid-year review for our Executive Director, Dr. Kernan. Thank you all for being here. Meeting was reconvened at 7:02. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move next item, flag salute. Any volunteers?
We have a volunteer. No, we have a student volunteer.
Oh, we have a student volunteer. Okay, yes, please lead us. We have flags here to your right, our left.
You can right there if you want. That's good. Right there.
To the allegiance to the flag, to the republic, which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay, next item, item 6. We've got the community input on agendized items. Public may comment on items listed on the agenda, including consent calendar, presentation, discussion, committee, and action items. I do try to limit public comments to 3 minutes. Any public comments?
We have one comment. It's on a non-agendized item, and if it's okay with the board, I would, since we only have one, he could go right now instead of waiting until
Sure.
it's up to you guys.
It's calm, right?
Mr. Khan.
Yeah.
Mr. Zhu.
We always want to hear what you have
Yeah.
to say.
Would you like
Mr.
to?
Zhu. Yeah, you can actually just come up and stand up here in the front.
How are you? Do you
Is there no mic, right? Is there one? Oh no, that's okay. That's okay.
You're right next to the computer.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to start the timer.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes, please.
Okay. First, I want to thank our school's leadership, teachers and staff, for providing our students with such great opportunities through events like Spelling Bee and Irvine Sports League participation. I always think activities like this are just as important as daily classroom learning for students' growth. I'm very glad that we're doing them, and I think I already know there are more to come. I also want to use this opportunity to send a special shout out to Ms. Jen, the assistant principal. With Mandarin being the pillar of our school's curriculum, I feel this year we're closer to a true immersion program than ever before. During the AP interview panel earlier this year, I told Dr. Bean that I think the first 3 years of our school were 3 lost years in terms of Mandarin program development. First year, there was too much drama going on and there was little academic dedication from the Chinese principal. The second and third year, the AP was inexperienced, yet narrow-minded. She didn't do a good job uniting the Mandarin teachers. Now, halfway through our 4th year, I'm delighted to find Ms. Jen motivated and young talent that for the first time in IIA's history, I see someone truly steps up and owns our Mandarin program. She not only brings the experience of Mandarin immersion, but also her network of various Chinese educational associations in both US and China, which shows she's truly passionate about and believes in what she does. Through my interactions, she's very approachable and a tentative listener to parents. She has a lot of good ideas, and she already organized some Mandarin related contacts. I think she will do more. I think that's actually very important for the students to know how the learning be applied and motivate them to make further progresses, because sometimes when kids learning a lot of language in the US, they often ask, why do I do it? They don't understand. So I think those are very great things. And also I think she just started some enrichment program for advanced Mandarin learners, which I believe some parents expressed strong interest at the beginning of the school year. So I think, yeah, I do think Miss Jan is a great asset to our school, and I feel fortunate to have her lead our Mandarin program, and I look forward to what she brings next. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that's the only item, or the only public comment, right? Okay. So moving on, next item 7, recognitions. So very proud, we want to recognize the 2024 IIA Spelling Bee finalists.
All right, so I have some certificates and we're gonna have you guys come up here and grab your certificates, and then I'm gonna ask our board members to come down and we can get some pictures with you guys. So is Kayla here? How about Ariel? There you are. All right, congratulations, Evan. And we'll do a group photo. Okay, once we get everybody.
Aria, move aside.
And Charlotte. No. Kristen. Kristen's here. Kristen and Caroline. If we have any of our middle schools here. Arthur's not here. Ada is not here. And Callie's not here. We do have all of our younger students here. Was your certificates up? Grant, why don't you come up here too?
Then don't stand next to me.
Karen, thank you so much for helping out with your students' practice, I'm sure, with their spelling. And I know you guys are all too young this year, but if you keep it up, then hopefully in the future we'll be able to send you to the county when you win the spelling bee. So you'll be able to compete against all the other spelling bee winners in the whole entire Orange County, and then maybe even the state.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're super excited. So keep practicing your spelling words. And next year, let's see you guys up here again. All right. Well, congratulations. Great job.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you all parents for helping to support our spelling bee and for helping to support our kids. And thank you guys again. And you guys are all free to stay for the board meeting, but if you don't want to, I totally understand.
So congratulations again to the winners. And thank you for everyone who participated, and for the parents as well. You took your time to support your kids. So we'll move on to the next item. Okay, item 8, items for consent. Approved minutes from the regular meeting of the IIA Board of Directors from November 9th, 2024. Recommended the Board of Directors approve consent item A. Is there a motion?
Motion, sir.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second? Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Okay, item 9, items for presentation. We've got first the school update from Principal Schmitter.
So, somehow we made it to the middle of December already. It seems like it went really fast. But just gonna give you some quick updates. Our tournament champions for soccer was a success. It was the first time as a school that we've ever participated in that. Our older boys, they had a tough game. They lost in penalty kicks, but like I said, there was I think they had a good experience. So it's kind of something that we want to do regularly. The next sport up is flag football. So we're already preparing for that, and then it'll be basketball in the spring. It gives us another opportunity for our students to have something to do at school beyond pure academics and get them that additional opportunities. So that was good. Then now we have our first middle school dance ever on Friday. The students are very excited about that. Our middle school students have been planning it. So they're kind of taking the lead on it. Our staff obviously there to guide them in the right direction, but with our students taking leadership, we want them to take ownership. And so it's the first dance. So with that, the goal is that everything goes smooth. Everyone kind of understands what they're doing. And then in the spring, they want to do a bigger dance off campus. But in order to get there, we want to start small. So baby steps in that area.
It's going to be here.
It'll be here right here Friday night. Yep.
And it's beautifully decorated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and what's funny is that a lot of this was for winter concert, but it actually fits the theme. I'm sure there was coordination on that. I'm sure that's make sure that was fit. So yeah, that will be Friday night. The next Tuesday, we have our winter concerts. So Mission's kind of put that together. It's going to be a full evening. We have more classes, more students. So with our youngest TK starting as early as 3:30 to probably end around 7 o'clock. So because, there is a space limitation, we're kind of put together a program. So kindergarten goes first, and then kindergarten can move out. Then we get first and second in, and they can move out. And so we're trying to kind of coordinate that. But the students will work hard. They've got a lot of solo opportunities for students. So Mission's been coordinating all that with everybody. And then the last update I have is to kind of feedback from some parents is that they were looking for after starting in January, they were hoping to get some additional after school enrichment programs for our students, paid programs, some outside group coming in. So I sent out a survey yesterday to kind of get input from the school community on that, to kind of understand what people are looking for. And then we're looking to offer up those programs by end of January, early February. This to give more opportunities for our families, because a lot of our families say, my kid's interested in this. They come to school, then we have to drive over there, and it would be nice if there's something at school. So I know we're looking at ELP for the following year, kind of expanding in that area, but for right now, I'll be working on that. So I got that survey results in already today. Already had a few contacts, but kind of did a little more research to get different vendors and programs. So those are kind of the big updates right now. And then again, on the calendar, a lot of what we just talked about. I do have coffee with the principal on Thursday. So it'll be Thursday morning right here. Seems like everything's right in here the next couple of weeks. And then our next parent workshop is focusing on English learners and our ELAC council. And one of the things that they want to do is create an ELD brochure. But one of the feedback they had gotten is a lot of parents don't know what to ask, what to do. So the point of that parent workshop is to educate the school community what the EL program is, what's doing, so that people understand what's going on every day at school here during that ELD time and for English learners. So that will be next Thursday. And then we're right there for break until school resumes on January 7th. So kind of a snapshot in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. I have one question.
Okay.
The coffee with the principal, I know, we've had several, and there have been questions and some things required, some follow-up.
Mhm.
Are we tracking that? I know asked in the past. I'm just curious where we stand with that.
Yeah, so we are. The last one was, the big thing was the after-school programs. And then also just following up on the anti-bullying curriculum. And so one of the next steps was to get Phoenix House to provide a presentation to our families on that program, so they can know what it is, so we can kind of move along in that. So I'm working with them on that. But yeah.
And then so any of the coffee with principal questions, suggestions that came up in the first several, I don't know how many, we had 4 or 5? I mean,
I think it's 4.
This will be
this will be 5. So
Yeah.
in the first, let's say 3, do we have open items?
Those are the ones. The only thing was, I mean, I think the carpets and the cleaning of that, but I've already addressed that one. But in terms of open items, not that I.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just hope that we're keeping track.
Yeah, so that's, and the biggest ones are the after school programs now, and then the anti-bullying program, which we've been working on. But again, in order to do it and get real feedback, we want to, before parents can really get feedback, they have to know what the opportunities are, what the programs are. That's where we're at with it.
I got you for you.
Oh, okay. Sure.
So, I know the school site council has met
What?
twice, only once officially. So did that include the initial meeting where they just kind of kick off?
So that is the initial meeting. So typically when you have a school site council, it would start a little bit sooner, but because we haven't had one, it started a little bit later. So our first meeting predominantly focused on approving bylaws,
Right.
voting in officers, and then a school parent compact. And so then the next session is going to be focusing on the safety plan.
And when is that?
January 9th. I'm pretty sure it's January 9th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I got another thing for you.
Yes.
You know, I had an opportunity cross paths with the city earlier
Mhm.
this year. And I met Officer Schaefer, I think is his name. And he is the motor training officer. Specifically, he gives presentations on e-bike safety.
Okay.
And he's willing to come to the school and give the 30-minute
Mhm.
presentation. I'm sure turns into longer than that with all the kids' questions and
Yeah.
stuff. So he volunteered that at some time he could come
Mhm.
and give the e-bike training. He suggested like right after Christmas, because he said that's when most kids get their e-bikes or scooters too.
Yeah.
So it's not the bikes, just the scooters.
Yeah.
And I suggested to him, during that time, we typically have some kind of weather, right? Rainy weather. And so the kids are inside kind of. That might be a good opportunity to use him as part of the distractions while they're inside.
The fun
So, right. So I'm going to forward you his contact information, and let's see if we can get an e-bike session safety, e-bike scooter safety thing. He's willing to come to the school. I think that will enforce our relationship with IPD. Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'll send you that. You and
force me, and then once I get that, I'll reach out to him.
Yeah. We can see if we can get something going there. Okay. Thanks.
Right.
Just talking about that, thought about last time when I was here for the coffee with the principal, and I think it was the police man was here. Yeah. So I had a chance to talk to him, and we talk about during the school event, sometimes it's so hard to find parking. And so when I was asking him, is there any way like the back over there, or along the side of the street on this side, whether there's a possibility to open up that usually they're not allowed.
Yeah.
But I know once in a while when we have a special event, he said he would check into it.
Yeah.
He said with the back over there, if we're not using the yard, maybe we can do it. because it's so hard. I heard so many complaints about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah.
And
I-
Mario actually contacted
Yeah.
the city about using Yale,
Yes.
because it's all open there. We were actually denied, the ability to use Yale for the last couple of
Yeah, we've
events.
asked, yeah.
Because that would be easier. Some of our events, we need, there's kids kind of running around between the after school programs. We don't want to really pull cars onto the campus. So we're hoping maybe we can try to maybe get a different answer. But we did reach out and ask, if we could, because Yale would be the easiest.
Yeah.
And they said that sometimes they do allow parking for special events. But we were told no for the last two events.
We can keep asking.
But we're gonna keep asking.
Don't ask it, just do it.
No,
I
I don't want people to get ticketed sitting on Yale.
I know the chief of police.
I'm gonna wait for a multi.
I did mention about.
You parked there first.
Yeah, I'll park there first.
Since it's only a short time, probably won't kill the grass. But he said probably not. That's just.
Yeah, I don't know if
that's not-
you would be happy about us using the grass.
Yeah, but he did say he would check into it. I say just so hard.
Yeah.
Something parents really have to prepare at least 30 or 40 minutes to get.
Yale
through
would be the
it.
easiest because it's right there. It's on the street. So we're gonna keep pushing that.
Yeah, no, we'll keep asking. Well, that's even going back to the orientation before school started. That was something that we had talked about too.
Actually, I have one more thing, but the school dance this Friday, where's that being advertised?
What do you mean?
Like, I look on the website here, I don't see anything about that. I look at the PTO website, I don't see anything about that. Where was that?
It's been, we sent out, it's been in the weekly updates I sent out, and then there was also a separate, I believe there was a separate update.
From middle school
email
parents
us.
only.
For middle school. Yeah. And then, I mean, obviously, and then the students have all been talking.
Okay,
But we also want to try to cut down on the confusion of non-middle school families thinking that it's a dance for
For them too.
everyone.
yeah, I also had a chat today with Officer Mendoza, who is the DARE program lead for Irvine. And he's the one driving around in the Cybertruck.
Okay.
And so he's willing to make a visit to the school. And actually, if I'd have known sooner, we might have been able to get him to come to the school dance on Friday. He could park out in front, that kind of, because I didn't know it was even going to be here.
Will be their officer actually. Can't remember. If it's yesterday, I think it's either yesterday or Wednesday.
Was it Mendoza?
I think it was Mendoza.
Must have been another
Someone
team member.
He said he's new.
Oh.
He's in his phone.
Okay.
That was part of it.
Yeah, I know they volunteered to come, but we didn't know a little bit more at the time that we could get them to come park the truck out there. Okay,
Are non-IA students allowed to come to the dance?
No.
Friday? No. So is someone monitoring
The
that?
teachers will be monitoring.
Yeah, so teachers will be around, and I'm working with the teachers too to make sure that the protocol in place too, or not, if there's any non-IA students who show up, and also students leaving, so students aren't gonna be allowed to leave on their own.
Yeah.
Different age, so having at least protocols.
so are there parents allowed at this? There's no parent?
It's not no parents, no, because it's small. We wanted the middle school leadership class really wanted to run, well.
Did you say no? There's no parent?
So no
No
parents.
parent.
All the middle school teachers will be.
Oh, okay.
It'll
We'll
be
have
in-
lots of supervision, but
But
the
no,
middle school kids
Yeah.
wanted to be able to have a dance. So
Yeah, so as it if it grows, if it goes on and grows and it goes offsite, that would be a different story. But because it's here, small self-contained.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
make sure to keep a lot on this. Here.
Hi, Delano, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Hi, okay, perfect. Okay, so the next item is B, financial update by Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, you have the microphone.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. Hey, Grant, can you allow me to share really quick?
Yep, you should be set up now.
Perfect, thank you.
Might need to turn the volume up. If that's okay.
Think the computer, but I can turn the volume on.
Sure.
Probably on the computer, I mean, on the TV if you need to.
Can you say something?
Mic check? Yeah.
Maybe turn it off on the computer.
That's what I was-
I can hear you. I can hear you folks just fine. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Perfect.
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll start with the usual, and good evening, everyone. We'll start with the usual monthly financial presentation. And this time we're covering October. And what's unique about October is that we get to kill sort of two birds with one stone because we're reporting our first interim report as well this month. And so this is a good opportunity for us to um, uh, sort of take a pulse check of where we currently are in terms of how we've been performing over the last 3 to 4 months. In October, our total revenues amounted to 573,000. Primary source of the revenues were LCFF resources of 481,000, 75,000 in other state revenues, and then 15,899 in local revenues. Our expenses for October were 505,859. Roughly 81% of that, or 409,000, related to salaries and benefits. Another 16% for operational matters to the tune of 79,000. Books and supplies were $6,069, and about 1% in other outgo. Our year-over-year comparison in terms of revenues, you can see here where we're shaking out. Our LCFF has increased quite a bit, and again, that's related to the increased student enrollment over the past year and a half. Federal dollars, and again, we're sort of back to the par for the course here. This last year at this time, I believe we were closing out the last remainder of the PCSGP grant. This year, we have no federal revenues through October. Our state revenues as well, you can see here where those are shaking out, down about 29%. But that's not to worry, it's just timing for the most part here with some of these. 198,000 this year, we had 277 last year. And then our local revenues obviously increase. A boatload of this was during the early part of the school year in terms of July, I believe, when we received the grants from the K Family Foundation. So overall, our revenues are up about 62% compared to the same time last year. Conversely, on the expenditure side, and I'll sort of bottom line this here, which is really good. Salaries and benefits, obviously the main drivers, but as you can look at our books and supplies, our operational costs, and the amounts related to borrowing, you can see here we've pretty much flatlined and have gone the opposite way in terms of just not having that excess spending. We were actually here in terms of operational matters, 12% less than we were this time last year, 15% in books and supplies than we were at the same time last year. Only increase here was the increase in salaries, personnel costs, obviously. So last year, this time we were at 1,933,174. This year, we're at 1,926,823. Variance there of about $6,000. So that's really, really good in terms of mitigating and curtailing some of those operational and program costs, and as well as our borrowing. Sort of taking a look at our budget to actuals. 1.6 million in terms of our overall year-to-date revenues through October. Our budget again here, this is roughly about 21% of our budget. And you can see here on the expenditure side, we're at 1,926,000, leaves us with a small deficit of 311,000. On the next slide, I'll show you where we were in terms of same time last year and how that shakes out, which I think is really impressive. On our balance sheet, you can see where we are here in terms of total assets versus this year versus last year. This year, 486, reduction in cash, obviously, of about 20,000. We did have um, about 20,000 here in receivables that are still outstanding compared to about 3,800 more last year. On the expenditure side, less accounts payable same time last year. I'm sorry?
No comments from us yet.
Oh, okay. I thought I heard someone saying something. Total liabilities, 1.5 million compared to the same time last year, 2.2 million. And again, this is where you can see the net income or the change in net assets here. Last year, this time, we were at 933,000 down versus this year we're 311,000 down. So that's a huge swing the opposite way. It's just more reflective of the budget that we're monitoring this year versus last year. Again, we're still in a deficit in terms of our fund balance, but again, you can see here it's about a $700,000 flip from where we were last year to this year. Last year, our fund balance was 1.7 million deficit. This year, it's only 1,054,000. But this is really the driver there, and I want to highlight that just so you can see that things are moving positively in the right direction. Our cash on hand, again, this continues to be the everyday struggle, so to speak. Last year at this point in time, we had 250,000 in the treasury, 199 in the operating account. This year we have 174 in the treasury, 244 in the operating account, 418 versus 439. So a difference there of about $21,000. I will pause to take questions. And while in the midst of saying that, this is the same information that's really reflected on your interim reports. That interim report, as I mentioned before, is quite a much more detailed document showing various budgets, things like that, and actuals broken out between restricted and unrestricted. But this is a really good summary of that interim report in terms of where we are fiscally. Yes, I'll take questions if there are.
I have a question. This is Brett. So I had something that was in the folder, the narrative summary. It mentioned that overall the total expenses for October 2024 were the 1.9 million that you mentioned, which is an increase of 472,442 or 32% compared to October 2023. But here you're showing it as we're actually less.
Yeah, we took those out. I think you're looking at the I'm not sure if Amy updated the packet that was given to you.
Yeah, I updated the presentation, but I think you had a like a summary sheet in there that I think
Yeah.
didn't get.
That didn't get switched out. Yeah, so
so
this one I believe Amy, I think I may have sent it over to you.
I
but
got
if
the
not-
presentation. I don't think I got the summary sheet, but I can take a look.
Okay.
Anyway. If not, can you resend that one just so I can put the
Absolutely. Mhm.
So yeah, anything that needs a correction on that narrative summary would be great.
Yeah,
We
I
can
just
get
got the presentation, not that one
Yeah.
page summary you had this time.
Mhm.
So if you could just update that one and send it over.
Yeah, I have it updated, which is what I'm reading off. I'll just drop it in the folder.
Perfect.
Is that new information or what changed?
There's an error in the I was picking up September of 23 versus October of 23.
Okay, thank you.
So Delano, I'm looking at the days of cash on hand. It's like we have 22 days there, 22
Yes.
days. Has that been our average lately, or is there an improvement there?
It's been hovering right around about a month or so, a little under a month. At the next meeting, I can sort of trend where that has been going over the last, say, 4 months since July, but it's been trending right around 30 days or less.
So it seems like a big improvement this year versus prior years was selling receivables not as far out, right? So the money is a lot cheaper.
Correct, and we're borrowing less as well, so that and obviously curtailing of certain expenditures and things like that has really had an impact on that as well. So
But
kudos
thank
to the
you
staff.
for managing that, because that's obviously pretty key, given that we have 30, what was our number? More kids
All
than
Dr. Kern.
41 more than we did previously, and able to keep our expenses less than what we had last year.
So hopefully we can use that for, if you look at our revenues, keeping that our revenues are almost double this time since last year. That should definitely help us to get out of that deficit. We've already gotten out by 700,000. We have $1 million to go, but 700,000 in just a couple of months is pretty. We're on the right track.
Yeah. So Delano, so these are year to date for October, right?
Yes, through October.
October 31st, right? It's October. So
Mhm.
November, are we expecting any additional revenues coming in November that we know? I want to hear some good news. Is there any revenues you think going to come in October, November?
Oh,
India,
we'll get the standard. I think the good news that you're looking for will come much later in the year, June, when we close the books, because you will have this sort of fluctuation up and down throughout the course of the fiscal year, and keep in mind that our ADA projections are based on April of 2025, which is when that final snapshot is taken. That's really what we're projecting in terms of having the revenues that we're anticipating. But to your point, for the most part, unless there is some unanticipated donations or something like that, the standard revenue schedule will still apply, which will just be majority of our revenues are coming from our LCFF, primarily our property taxes from Irvine District. And then obviously some of our state aid as well, which is much smaller, but our primary source of revenues are the LCFF property taxes, to be more specific.
Any of the advanced apportionment is already captured here, or it was going to come in November?
Yeah.
That a lot, most of that has already been
Mhm.
captured here because we were already planning for that. We did get one. Our title money was the amount that we're going to get as of today. That's based off of last year's numbers, which was not, we didn't put into the budget because we never applied for it before. But as of right now, it's about $80,000. That should actually go up because it was based off of last year's numbers. But that is an additional $80,000 to $100,000 that was not placed in the budget that we did apply for and are receiving for this year. So that's some extra revenue that we just found out about a week ago.
Yeah, and once we do the CONAP, which I believe is due sometime in January, we'll bring that back and we'll have a pretty good idea, estimated wise, in terms of what those title funds will be. I believe you will get offhand. I know Title IV, you'll get the 10,000, which is just automatic for all schools. Then obviously your Title I and Title II will vary depending on the demographics of your student population there. And I don't believe you guys are we need to look at the EL, Amy, just to make sure, because you have a high EL population, or no?
We are receiving Title III.
Okay, and it's over. I'm assuming it would be over 10,000 if you're standalone here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly what, all told, Title 1, 2, 3, and 4 were about 80,000, but that's based off of last year's numbers. So, it's good. And we're in our winter release. I've already updated the numbers. So we should be expecting more than that.
Yeah, and that will also change again once they've updated the spring pool of CalPads to capture this year's student demographics. All righty. So that is the October financials. I had a calendar. You guys want to jump right into the action items? Or?
Yep, please.
All right. Next up is the audit report. I don't know how much of this you folks have seen, but as you know, we've been you've seen this information. I'll sort of preface it this way: the numbers inside here, the financial numbers that are inside the audit report, obviously has been presented and reflected in your unaudited actuals, which we presented back in September. The audit is usually based upon that information, and that's usually where the jumping off point for the auditors in terms of what they're testing, etc. I normally will let the auditors or yield to them in terms of making this presentation. Obviously they had many conflicts today, so they were not able to do it. But I'll give you just some quick highlights based off of my summary of that. And then obviously if we need to bring them back in January, we can to do a much more formal presentation of their work. Sort of scroll down here a little bit before I jump in. We did receive an unmodified opinion, which is great.
Are you sharing your screen? Just a question.
Am I sharing this document? No, you guys are seeing my face. You don't want to see my face. You want to see the document.
Well, we do want to see you, but we also want to see the document.
Yeah. The document is far better looking than I.
And we just got the final document last night. It's the one that was attached to the board agenda. Has all the same information, but the dates had not been updated in it. So the one in the folder right now is the final document that we received last night. But for the most part, it's the same.
Yeah, not much change there except for the dates, as Amy alluded to. All right, here we go.
And there was a little bit of language updated regarding our plans to kind of get us out of our past financial issues. So there was a section that was highlighted in the draft on that's been updated, but all of the numbers and everything else are the same. So it's just where the dates are, and then that little blurb that they added some information in about us looking for lower interest loans and trying to have decreased expenditures to try to get our finances out of the negative.
Can you guys all see the audit report now?
It's kind of weirdly half on your screen and half not.
How about now?
Now it's good.
Now it's good? Okay, perfect. All right. So the audit report for Western Mandarin for the school year ending June 30th, 24 presents an unmodified opinion of the financial statements, indicating that they're fairly presented the financial position of the organization. And to Amy's point, it does highlight some of the growing concerns, and I'll show that to you really quickly here in terms of what we gave to the auditors in terms of our way forward. with that. I believe that is on page 16, which you can see here. And basically, our net asset was deficit 551,000 at the end of June 2024. The negative net asset balance, along with the newly issued debt, are key factors that raise substantial doubt about the organization's ability to continue as a going concern. Management's plan to mitigate the conditions and events that arise substantial doubt about the organization's ability to continue. Basically just lays out here what we intend to do. And again, I'll just give you some quick highlights. Financial health will be monitored using key performance indicators, regular assessment and risk mitigation strategies, engaging stakeholders, including boards, staff, parents, and the community is crucial for support and involvement. The organization has already started its strategic planning during the board study session in September 24, with another session planned for January of 25. And they're also working with banks and lenders to secure low interest loans and lines of credit to address cash flow shortfalls, aiming to reach financial solvency faster and build a reserve of 10 to 15%. So that's basically, this suffices for the auditors for their issuing of note 12. Outside of that, there were no other findings. This was a very clean audit. There were no material weaknesses. There were no compliance issues. Everything was reported and in line with the audit guide, which is the mechanism and the tools by which the auditors use to audit the financial statements of the organization. One last thing I want to point out here also as well, and again, as I mentioned, this was an unmodified opinion, which is exactly what we want. They did, however, recognize some restricted revenues that sort of came in after the fact, to the tune of 191,000. So that did help in terms of mitigating the fund balance from what it was at the unaudited actuals presentation to currently now. So there's a swing of about 191,000, and these were the two line items here in terms of revenues that we're going to record as of 6/30 on the balance sheet. All in all, and then sort of give my opinion here on the process. This was quite an undertaking just overall. And like I said, once the auditors, I will certainly rally, and Amy, maybe you can do the same as well, to get them to come and do a presentation next month. They usually will do it, but this time around they were quite busy, so we were not able to schedule it. But I certainly would like for them to present to the board and sort of give their own independent opinion on the audit itself, the audit report, and any findings, etc. But as I mentioned, there were no findings outside of that going concern for this audit. So all in all, it was a very clean audit, in my opinion. Questions and comments? And this does require, per statute, this does require board approval, and that we submitted to the state, our authorizer, as well as the county of Orange Department of Ed.
Thank you, Delano, and I also thank you for all of your services to support that clean audit here. So you're a key piece and part of that, and we appreciate all the support that you provided thus far. So thank you very much. And yeah, the target is very clear for us, that we need to continue the path that we're on and achieve financial sustainability. And I think we've made great strides to get lower cost, and we've dealt with a few years of being in this situation that's made it quite uncomfortable. But fortunately, we've been able to provide a program that continues to be very strong. I think we can see that in the ADA rates, the attendance rates, and the enrollment rates, and we'll continue to manage a well-performing school.
The interest in tours, we have substantial interest in tours.
Yeah.
Lately, right? And continue.
Yeah, I mean, and the CAS scores and all, I mean, everything speaks very well about the school.
And a little shout out that will help us in our future financially as well. And a shout out to the staff. In November, although normally we should have some of the worst attendance, especially with those 2 days of Thanksgiving, where many students did not come to school. With Mary Beth and Joe and everybody's and Rose's efforts, we actually had our highest attendance month, I believe, ever. We were at 98.2% attendance for the month of November. So, so great effort for everybody to make sure that if students were absent, we were getting them on independent study, keeping them up with their classwork, and having, like I said, some of the highest attendance rates we've ever had, and those translate to increased revenue, because revenue is enrollment times attendance. So that helps out a lot.
Do we publish that?
We don't publish our monthly attendance, but our attendance rate does get published as part of the school dashboard, and it does get published on the state website. So right now it looks like we're maintaining between a 97 and 98% attendance. We're at about 95 or 97.5. So that will definitely help us at the end of the year for our accountability, and not only money, but also on the dashboard as showing that we have some of the highest attendance rates as well.
Special thank you to them as well.
Yeah.
For their hard work.
They worked very hard to get that done.
No.
I know that's tough, but they don't realize how that translates to us monetarily in this right here in the budget,
Yes.
right? How much their effort.
And just keeping kids on track. If they're missing school, they're able to complete their work, they're able to stay on track with the rest of their students.
Right, and it builds that culture to come to school,
Mhm.
right? That taking the day out or taking the whole week off for Thanksgiving is not acceptable.
It is next year because we have the whole year off.
Oh,
I mean, the whole week off.
oh, that's it. Well, that's
So now it is acceptable, but this year it was not.
right. Well, wherever it applies, that taking a whole week off just because you have an extra day or two is not an acceptable thing. Right.
Any questions?
What was this is for Delano. I heard you say there was a reserve, a percentage of the reserve that we're focusing to try to get. There was, or something that was
10 to 15.
10 to
was it
15%.
15? 10?
Yeah, somewhere, so 10 to 15 is in that very healthy category, right? And obviously it'll take some time for us to get there. Traditionally, the minimum that your authorizer says about 3%, right? So that's a very low threshold to me.
In cash flow
Yeah,
at 3%. So the 10 to 15%, especially for charter schools, 3% is the minimum for school districts to hold. But because they've been around a lot longer, they're usually bigger, they're a little more stable. For a charter school, we would definitely want to have a higher, to be really fiscally sound, we would want to have a higher reserve than that. And at 10 to 15%, we would be able to deal with any cash flow issues and start off the beginning of the year, even though we don't receive a majority of our funding until February, March, we would be able to kind of float that time period if we had a 10 to 15% reserve without having to worry about taking lines of credit or loans or selling receivables. So it's the target. It's going to be a little while before we get there. But it's definitely it's the target where we're going to be at our healthiest to basically get through any kind of unforeseen issues.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. What was the percentage?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this item? All right, Mr. Jones, anything else?
And you do have to approve that one, so
Yeah, we haven't even gotten to the item.
It's- yeah.
Present under the presentation.
Okay. I'll do the last one here, which is the interim report. As I mentioned, the interim report, page one. You all have seen this before in prior years. So you start to see the pattern now. Quarterly we'll have a report that will sort of provide an update to your authorizer, stakeholders, etc., on how the school is performing. As I mentioned in prior presentations with this report is set up in income statement, balance sheet, etc. You will have the adopted budget here, which is the budget that this board approved back in June of last fiscal year. You'll have your unrestricted and restricted actuals in this column, which I've already presented in the October financial presentation. That's represented in this column. Here we'll have the revised budget that this board approved back, I believe, in September. And then we have some projections in terms of how we're performing against the original budget, the interim budget, and the actuals versus the budget overall. More or less, a lot of this is for your authorizers. And again, for you guys. Someone saying something?
I think there was just some feedback.
Okay. More or less for your authorizers and as well as administration, sort of get an insight into where we're trending and where we're projected to wind up in June of 25. As I mentioned, we had a small deficit of 333,000 at the end of October. I won't go through all the various line items here, but this is just basically comparing our budget to our actuals and our revised budget to our unrestricted and restricted actuals over the last 4 months and where we're trending. If you see something here in red, that means that I had a line item here in terms of a staff member, which actually belongs somewhere here. I have to see who that is and just move it down. So those are not necessarily a major issue. Although we did have, and again, this is the actuals versus the interim here, we did have a little bit of an excess, and I don't believe we have any other expenditures that are going to come out of this particular line item here in the 4100 series, but we're still within the threshold in terms of what we project to spend in the overall category. And you can see the difference here between the first interim and the adopted budget. But overall, when I did a reforecast of this, we're still well within that, taking into consideration that I believe we won't have any other expenditures that are going to go above and beyond what we've already spent in this particular category here.
You think about it, we're about 4 months into the school year, so we should be kind of looking at being at around 30 to 40% of our expenditures. Some things a little bit more because we know that textbooks and things like that are all bought mostly at the beginning of the year, so we expend those things out. But for things like salary, operating costs, we should be at about 30 to 40% of where we would be for the entire year. And we're trending that way. Actually, because we did this budget to be a little bit conservative as well, we're actually trending a little bit lower than the 30 to 40%. So hopefully that will create a larger positive operating income at the end of the year. If we
and we're still on track for
we had
our
about 100% instead of 100% at the end of the year if we stay on this trend.
and we're still on track to meet our projected net income of 423,908, which is where we are here. It does show the balance sheet again, as I mentioned, these are all the information that I presented in the October financials, and they're reflected here in the same manner. This is just more or less on this page here, just a comparison of the first interim budget and then projections for the next 2 fiscal years in terms of our projected budgets. And obviously these are going to change as we get closer to each year. Obviously for 25, 26, we'll be working with better information at that point in time, but this does give you authorizer a sense of where we're trending in terms of the next 2 fiscal years. This is more or less just compliance things. Your authorizers wants to know how we're spending in certain particular categories, especially your operational category. They ask for us to split this out between the restricted and unrestricted budget and also the actuals as well. And this is more or less for their information. And then our cash flow here as well. This is again part of the entire document that we submit to them. And you guys have all seen these in my presentation as well. It does give some assumptions in terms of our enrollment projections for this year plus the next 2 fiscal years, and some of the demographics of the school in terms of staff, student demographics, funding rates, etc. And so that is the interim report in a nutshell. It does again require board approval. And I'll take questions if there are any.
Lana, on the assumptions, I thought that we had dropped the AEA percentage down to 96%. I believe we did that in the budget. So it may just be the assumptions weren't updated. But I think we were running the budget at 96%.
And 96%. I can make that change before I send it over.
Yeah, it's just the assumptions weren't updated.
Yeah, I have 97%, and you want it to be 96.5?
That we ran the budget we just did in September at 96%.
Okay.
I'll go back and check.
Okay. Let me know tomorrow, and then I'll if at worse I'll adjust it on that assumptions tab.
Okay, Mr. Jones, thank you very much. I know we do need a vote on those things, and that's under the items for discussion and possible action. Anything else regarding financial update?
No, that is it.
Perfect. Well, thank you for your time, and thank you again for supporting us with all of these documents. Next is 10 items for discussion and possible action. Item A, approve the 2023-2024 audit report for the year ended 2024. Each year, an audit of IIA's financials must be completed by an independent audit firm in accordance with government auditing standards and federal audit regulations. Audit reports must be filed with CDE, the State Controller's Office, the local county superintendent of schools, and the chartering entity by January 17, 2025. LCAP goal action, not applicable. Funding source, not applicable. Budget financial impact, not applicable. It's recommended the Board of Directors approve action item A. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Thank you, Felipe. I'll second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Item B, approve the 2024-2025 first interim financial report. Charter schools are required by Education Code Section 47604.33 to submit budgets and interim reports to their chartering agency for review. LCAP goal actions, all goals. Funding source, not applicable. Budget financial impact, not applicable. It's recommended the Board of Directors approve action items B. Is there a motion?
All motions.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second? Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Okay, next item. MC, approve revised declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Although Irvine International Academy utilized various recruitment and outreach efforts, IIA certifies that there were an insufficient number of certificated applicants who met their California credential requirements to teach elementary and middle school music. Therefore, it's necessary to employ a credential candidate that does not currently meet these requirements, but are actively working towards the required credential of authorization. LCAP goal action, goal 1, action 2, funding source not applicable, budget, financial impact not applicable. It's recommended the board of directors ratify action item C.
So our music teacher is currently working on finishing up her credential. She had one more piece to go. And the state of California and the university takes a little while for those things. So we need her to be basically finished by January 1st. We are thinking that that is going to happen, but in an abundance of caution, we're asking for us to turn this in so that we have the ability to get a permit for her so that she can still teach music in case that credential doesn't come in by January 1st. So she's completed all of the requirements, turned everything in. We're just waiting on the final word. So hopefully we won't have to use this, but just in case, we wanted to make sure that that we have it approved in case we do have to apply for that before January 1st.
She's currently preparing the winter performance,
concert,
right?
yes.
So somehow we have leverage on her to make sure that she does a good job, right? Is she aware of that?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're the first school for her? Or
He did do some, she was an instructor in Irvine, IUSD for music, while she was still working on her credentials. So we're technically her second school, but her first school where she's going to be fully credentialed.
Okay. I did have Rachel tell me she's very excited about this school program that the music teacher is doing a good job.
She's doing an excellent
Yeah.
job. The kids really like her. She's jumped right in, even though she came in kind of late in the year, and has taken on the program and doing the winter concert and all of that. So so we're excited to have her. This is just kind of a technicality to make sure that we're good as far as credentialing.
You know, I would add that Rachel also told me that she's more disciplinary than our previous music instructor, and that she appreciates that because they get more done. So, just saying.
Yeah, she keeps. I mean, they work in there.
Yeah, they work
in the music classes. So they're really learning and doing a lot of. She does a lot of instruction.
Yeah, I went to observe her class twice.
Oh, did you?
So,
Okay.
she's
What grades? Do you remember what grades? Oh, okay. Was Raymond in there? Was Raymond in there? Was he goofing off?
Yeah.
No.
any other discussion?
I make a motion, we approve
Okay.
item. Action items.
Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Passes. Item D, approve revised annual instructional minutes for middle school and revised middle school calendar. The current middle school schedule only has minimum days on the last Wednesday of the month. It does not align with the elementary schedule. Also, the current middle school spring conference schedule does not align with the elementary schedule. After surveying middle school parents and staff, it's determined that there was overwhelming support to align the two schedules. The instructional minutes have been revised to reflect this change beginning in January 2025. LCAP goal action, goal 1, action 1, funding source not applicable, budget, financial impact not applicable. It's recommended the board of directors ratify action item D.
It's pretty straightforward. Yeah. I've heard complaints from the parents.
We got a lot of, especially during conferences, we got a lot of complaints from parents because the conferences were on different weeks, and so basically 2 entire weeks where they had entirely different schedules for their elementary students and their middle school students. It's also created somewhat of an issue because our middle school teachers aren't able to participate in our collaboration time or professional development time because they're still in class. And we were excessively over on the required minutes for middle school. So we still are very much over on the middle school minutes, even with making this change. So it isn't taking away and making them have less minutes than they should have, or than any other middle schoolers have. There's still quite a bit over on those minutes, but now we'll be able to help families make it a little bit more convenient for our families, but even more importantly, make sure that our staff is able to participate in all of this professional development opportunities for middle school.
So did we miss something before?
The schedule, wasn't the schedule pre-done when you came in?
It was pre-done.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it was from last,
It was
done last year.
it was done last year for
But
this
she
year.
just inherited.
No, I know, I'm just wondering
I think that
where. We're doing a mid-year, so something we didn't know that was gonna happen, based on your understanding. of the
I think we just
situation,
didn't know
that this was gonna
the
happen.
middle school. I think middle school was very new, and everybody, there wasn't a lot of experience in running a middle school, and so I think
They were trying to make it separate.
they're
They
trying
were
to make it a little
to-
too separate. I
Yeah.
think, and then it just created some
Wouldn't work out.
issues. I mean, you want to keep middle school separate, but not to the sort of detriment of everything else. We are still one school building, one school program.
Yeah.
So some things still are going to just have to be similar between the elementary and the middle school. And then we can try to build in other things that aren't going to have such a negative impact to try to make the middle school separate.
The Friday is their short day, or was their short, or it still is, but Friday is their short day for middle school, right? Is that the way it works? 'Cause Wednesday is the,
No, Wednesday was a short day for middle school, but they only had a short day one Wednesday a month versus the rest of the school that had a short day every Wednesday. And so the rest of basically the rest of the school was able to have the collaboration time. We were able to do professional development during those Wednesdays, and the middle school was always left out of that.
because I know that, and this has been in the past, the teachers like to have that Wednesday afternoon.
Mhm.
And just because we went to middle school, there's no reason why.
No reason. And it created some inequity with the elementary teachers really getting a lot more planning time than the middle school teachers have, because the elementary teachers basically had a half day every Wednesday, and middle school only got that once a month. So we want to make sure that we have, and they have a lot of planning and prep work to do for middle school. So we want to make sure that they have that time and that time to work together.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll make a motion that we approve the revised minutes, or which I would say, action item.
No,
D.
yeah,
Action
so
item-
to recommend the board of directors approve action item D.
Action on, yeah, I'll make a
You
motion.
make a motion. Okay. Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second? Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Okay, item 11, executive director's report.
So I will keep this brief, but very excited about all of the activities that we've had recently and that we've had coming up. The spelling bee was super fun for the kids. They were so excited to be up there, and it was nice to be able to have kind of all grade levels represented. A lot of times it's just middle school because that's the ones that go on to the county spelling bee, but it was great to see all the little kids up there doing their spelling words as well. And looking forward to the winter concert. I know Sini's been really working hard to get that put together. And then, just looking forward to, I know everybody's looking forward to a little break for the holidays, and just wishing everybody a great holiday season, and have fun with family and friends, and get some relaxation time, vacation time.
Well, 2 full weeks, so.
Yeah. You got the kids for 2 weeks.
There you go. Perfect. Anything else?
I think I've said a whole bunch.
Okay, all right. Board of directors, reports?
I, I was at the soccer.
Oh yeah, I forgot, and
we
the
were there
soccer,
in
and
soccer,
it had,
and it was, I had to explain to Raymond that you can't enjoy the top of the mountain until you've seen the lows, right? And they did a great job, right up to the last minute, the last kick, you couldn't have heard better.
they went through
Unfortunately,
10 rounds of penalty
Yeah.
kicks though, before they got out, so it was a.
It was right down to the wire. Yeah, the guys tried really hard and they did a great job considering. And, although there was a lot of disappointment, they're looking forward to football to do the same thing, so, and basketball. So that's great, that school is getting recognized out there beyond their goals. The other schools we've seen in that medium. So that's fantastic. Yeah, and I have to also comment on Tom's earlier statement about our VP. Tiffany, I think is doing a fantastic job. Even though I don't understand the word of Chinese, over the years I've been able to look at people and know when they're working or doing a good job. And I believe she fits in that category, even though I have no idea. Right? I think that everything, I can see the quality of the work, the report she puts out, the effort, everything. It's exactly what we want to create. She's creating that jewel of IIA right on track. I think it's fantastic. It's great to hear that. Is acknowledging because I've spoken with parents too and other people who say the same thing. So yeah, really want to thank them for that. Absolutely. That's all.
So I guess from November with the Love Irvine, I'm just so proud of our students. They step out and they had so much fun.
It was so loud in there. They never stopped talking.
Just connecting with with the community, and I hope that we'll have an opportunity to do that, to serve the community.
It was so educational too, because you get to see how the optometrist measures the lenses and the tools they use and everything. Yeah, it's a great educational part for them and how they work together and what classes were good and those were and everything that was good. That was fantastic.
It's good. And I also was just so happy to see parents come up here to praise our teachers and maybe very proud, and it just coming and also seeing that parents are recognizing not just the score based on the score, but also recognize our teachers. So that's really good to see them. Love those little kids who put the spelling bee, and I can see their no fear. They're so natural. So definitely they will go all the way to the state in the future. And I know this is the time of year we have so many events, but it's so exciting. Every event are pulling families together with the schools and so on. So I look forward to participating in that. I really thank God the teachers. I can see how from what I hear and what I have seen is teamwork. So it's not one person, it's teamwork. And look forward to see eventually this is really a big family.
So first I want to wish everyone happy holidays, safe holidays, happy new year. And want to thank the PTO. The PTO is probably very involved in the setup for this and for all the activities that the PTO partakes in. Thank you. We couldn't do it without your help and support. So thank you. I wanted to thank the staff for supporting the spelling bee and the soccer tournament, and thank you, Molly, for Love Irvine and all the things that the school is participating in. Of course, we're very proud of our students with their academic results from the CASP. Once again, pretty amazing. But all the other things that the school is involved in as well. We had our first governance committee meeting last week. I think the minutes are posted from that meeting, and I think the finance committee probably will have an opportunity to meet as well, and we'll have more committee meetings in the future. We'll have some updates as well about board recruitment come next year. Some things that we're looking at. We have a study session happening in January about sort of future plans for the school, and I just want to commend you, Dr. Kernan, for your efforts around the finance control and this effort with Lend and Donate, and hopefully we find some other opportunities as well where we can get some lower cost of money. So really appreciate all of your efforts there. I know that's just one of many things that the team here is working on, but we really appreciate it. I just want to thank all the staff and the families for supporting the school. It's been a pretty tremendous first half of the year. Hard to believe, and excited for 2025. So thank you very much. Okay, next item, 13, community input on non-agendized items. We did it. I had our item. So 14, adjournments. Recommend the board adjourn the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on December 10, 2024. Is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Felipe. Is there a second? Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. None, it passes. Meeting adjourned at 8:21 p.m.